Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to the NovaCare Complex and our continuing coverage of the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles presented by DraftKings. You're looking live at A.J. Brown. All smiles after that debut for the ages. Yeah! A.J. Brown, 10 catches, 155 yards as the Eagles open the 2022 regular season in Detroit with a victory. Welcome, everyone. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy, as we give you an inside look at the Eagles as they hit the practice field for the first time this week in preparation for Monday night's game, prime time, as the Minnesota Vikings come to town. Fran, and I know we are both so excited about this matchup on Monday night.
It's an outstanding test for this Eagles team early in the season. Minnesota looked good on both sides of the football, beating a division foe in the Green Bay Packers this past week in Week 1. So I think when you look at this on both sides of the field, it's going to be a huge test for this Eagles team, Dave.
Yeah, it's a really good Vikings team that's coming off a 23-7 win last Sunday over their division rival, Green Bay Packers. And you take a look at Brown there, the 155 receiving yards, the most by any player in an Eagles debut, harkening back to the days, of course, of Terrell Owens, 2004. Yep. He had, I believe, 8 catches, 68 yards, 3 touchdowns. AJ was unstoppable, Fran, and I know you pointed this out throughout the week. At every level of the field, Detroit had no answers for him.
And that's the thing, is that when A.J. Brown was going to Pro Bowls in Tennessee over the last few years and lighting the league on fire as one of the best young receivers in football, the large majority of his work was done over the middle of the field, crossing routes, in breaking routes where they got him the ball fast and let him work. One of the best yards after catch wide receivers in all of football. But what we've seen here this summer and in Week 1 is that he is much more than just a yak weapon. He has got the ability to win at every level of the field, screen game, quick game, intermediate area. We saw the 54-yard catch, the deep ball down the field. That was something we saw on like a daily basis during training camp, Dave, every single day out there at practice. So I think when you look at A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, you've got two receivers that can impact the game in a whole lot of ways.
And for those of you out there worrying about Devontae and his mental state, we literally just got out of the locker room. Devontae spoke to some reporters and said, hey, that's just the way it is. You can only control what you can control. He was targeted 4 times Sunday in Detroit, no receptions. Look, he is going to get his, as Nick Sirianni has said during the week, he is a special playmaker, and the Eagles are very much going to get the ball to number 6. Fran, the question I have is, no, I think Devontae also is a yak guy.
Yep.
He and AJ are different kinds of yards after the catch. What makes Brown so tough? I mean, we saw him early on the offense is struggling a little bit. Jalen Hurts in Detroit opens things up with some runs. Then they get the ball to AJ, some short passes, and he really crashes the middle of the field spin move. I mean, what is so good about him as a runner after the catch?
I think it's two things. It's twofold. It's his play strength. He's 6'2" and change, 6'3", 230 pounds, 220 pounds. So this is a big body, but also his mentality. He is so competitive with the ball in his hands. He is so tough to bring down. He is relentless after the catch. So I think when you pair his size and his mentality, that's what allows him to be so good with the ball in his hands.
The Eagles run for 212 yards in Detroit. Miles Sanders, 13 carries, 96 yards, and the big touchdown for the first time in a couple of seasons. He is my guest on this Eagles Insider podcast that dropped today. Miles talking about being so laser focused. Fran just kind of keeping his brain where his feet are, just staying in the moment. And it really served him well in Week 1.
I had Eagles running backs coach Jamal Singleton join me this week on Eagles game plan for a film breakdown, and he was raving about Miles Sanders, one of the long runs of the day, a 24-yarder, not the 24-yarder that iced it, but one earlier in the game where you really saw his burst through the line of scrimmage and his vision and patience and all the things you're looking for from a quality running back. And I think when you look at this entire group of Eagles running backs, they led the league, Dave, this past week in Week 1 in yards after contact. So the mentality that they bring to the table, this is a physical smash mouth run game. We know that they can beat you in a lot of different ways on the ground, and that proved to be the case out in Detroit last week.
And I love the way the Eagles, again, using all 3 backs, with Boston Scott getting some goal line work and some late game work, and then Kenny Gainwell contributing with 5 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. 4 touchdowns on the ground, Fran. The run game, in case anybody wondered, the run game very much back and now ranking 3rd in the NFL in yards per game. And we haven't even gotten there yet. We haven't even gotten to the moment where the Eagles just start really pounding it when the weather gets colder and you have to run the football a lot. There's just so many ways that this offense can run the ball. And I think that's probably, as Minnesota is preparing for Monday night, how do you deal with an Eagles run game that is so versatile?
I mean, 4 guys reached the end zone, which we all know. And by the way, that was the first time that happened, Dave, since 1976.
Yes.
Crazy. So 4 guys reached the end zone on the ground. 3 of them average over 4 yards a carry. 2 of them go for 90-plus yards total. So if you're an opposing defense, if you're the Vikings, you don't know exactly what are they going to do to try and attack us. They can win in so many different ways on the ground. And to me, that versatility, that carries over to the pass game as well. But it's one of the things that makes this offense so difficult. And I can tell you from talking with some Minnesota film analysts over on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast this week, you can check it out, just dropped this morning. Both of those analysts were worried about how the Minnesota Vikings were going to try and handle this Eagles run game, not just with the backs, but with Jalen Hurts involved as well.
I mean, look, this game is a fantastic matchup.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, the Vikings are really good. James Bradbury, Darius Slay, the Eagles secondary, they have a huge challenge against a Minnesota passing game that is terrific, that is led by Justin Jefferson. He had his big game again here. He's had almost 300 catches in his first 2 years here. I mean, or 200 catches in his first 2 years here, 3,000 yards, goes for almost 200 and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns against Green Bay. And Bradbury and Darius Slay both address the ability of Jefferson and Adam Thielen and the precision in their route running. And oh boy, how in the world do the Eagles slow this really potent Minnesota passing game down?
I mean, it's going to take a full team effort on that side of the football. And even when you factor in the defensive line as well, you have to make Kirk Cousins uncomfortable. You've got to make those receivers uncomfortable. They do a really good job schematically of moving everybody around. A lot more motion than what we've seen from the Minnesota Vikings in years past. Dave, coming out of week 1, this is an offense that is top 10 in the league in motion. They're top 10 in the NFL in empty sets. They're top 10 in the NFL in screens, in play action. They're doing all different kinds of things, moving guys around. Justin Jefferson, not just out wide, not just in the slot. He had a couple of reps in the backfield as well, caught a pass out of the backfield. So they're going to move all of these guys around. And so that's why it's not going to just be, watch the matchup of Slay versus Jefferson or Bradbury versus Jefferson. It's going to be a full team effort trying to keep that guy contained.
Yeah, we wonder if the Eagles will have Slay follow Jefferson around. How will they match it up? Thielen is such a crafty veteran. Presents a bit of a challenge from the size standpoint. Yeah. If you're going to try to put a big cornerback like Bradbury on him. By the way, earlier I mentioned that the Eagles ran for more than 200 yards. I said 212 yards. They actually ran for 216 yards. 3rd in the NFL behind the Giants and behind the Browns. But we're talking defense here, and Darius Slay and the Eagles did a lot of really good things on Sunday. 3 straight 3-and-outs, and then the 4th possession, Kaiser White tips the pass, intercepted by Bradbury, returned for a touchdown. There were some struggles in the second half, Fran, and the idea of big lead, put your foot on the gas pedal, keep it down, put teams away. Hearing what Jonathan Gannon and the defensive players have talked about all week, that's the most disappointing part of the win in Detroit, that the Eagles had opportunities to put the Lions away and didn't do so.
I think it comes down to 2 things. When you look at 3rd down in the second half, they were 7 of 8. I believe they were 2 of 6 in the first half, right? So that really can kind of tell the tale of those 2 halves and why did things go so well in the first 2 quarters and then what happened in the second half. You got to get off the field on 3rd down, and for trying to find themes with that, it happened for a number of reasons. It might have been a penalty here, a guy falling down in coverage, a missed tackle. There's all kind of different reasons why, but you just have to clean all of that up. If you get off the field on 3 of those plays, well, now that second half looks a little bit different. And then the other big thing, people have talked a lot about the run defense. when you look at a lot of those big runs, Dave, so many of them came on 3rd and long, 2nd and 12, 3rd and 8, right? Those are historically, those are pass downs. And especially when a team is down by 2 or 3 scores, you're not expecting a downhill run. So credit the Lions, obviously, for going out and executing in that situation. But if you're the Eagles, you want to clean some of those things up, get off blocks a little faster, make sure that some of those tackles are a little bit more sure. But you always want to say, okay, we want to prevent the explosive play, prevent them from beating us over the top. The run game, you want to make sure that you stop them and don't let them become big gashes. There were just a couple too many of them this past Sunday.
It is an absolutely beautiful Thursday here at the NovaCare Complex. Our continuing coverage of the 2022 Eagles, presented by DraftKings. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy, with you here. And we are focused here on Zach McPherson, the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Had a chance to talk to him as well on the Eagles Insider podcast. And what a delightful young man. So appreciative and just really gets a jolt of confidence when the NFL makes the announcement yesterday morning that he is the Special Teams Player of the Week in the NFC. Recovered the onside kick in the 3rd quarter. We know Dave Phipp, the Special Teams Coordinator in Detroit, formerly with the Eagles, is going to surprise you throughout the game. So Zach on top of his game there. He also had a couple of special teams tackles. Fran, he's become a key member on special teams here. At the same time, the Eagles developing last year's 4th-round draft pick as a cornerback.
And that's what you're looking for, right? As a guy that when you have your 4th corner, you want position versatility, a guy that can line up inside or outside, and obviously be a core special teamer. And that's what we're seeing so far from Zach McPherson through 1 season and 1 game. And so a good start from his standpoint. Remember, he came in so hot last year, Dave, and there was a lot of buzz around him in that first training camp. And he didn't get as much playing time a year ago as many would have expected, but came in whenever his number was called, was able to step in and execute. And now with James Bradbury here in Philadelphia, he'll continue to wait, but biding his time, doing a nice job as a backup corner on this defense.
Yeah, and the Eagles, obviously, a huge premium is paid to special teams. Jake Elliott, perfect. I thought Aaron Sipas had some really critical punts from minus territory in Sunday's game. Britton Covey comes in and has a nice punt return. Kickoff return game certainly needs to find that spark, that seam, and bust one. The coverage team's just terrific job on punt returns. A strong first game for Michael Clay's group, and we take a look there at Britton Covey running down the field in the special teams drills here, Fran. And I know the Vikings are also, again, loaded in that area.
Yeah, we'll see former Eagle Jalen Reagor. Looks like he'll be returning punts for this team on Sunday or on Monday night.
Yep.
I think when you look at the Vikings, they're a team that they're going to put their players in position to succeed. So offensively, defensively, and it applies to special teams as well. The Eagles have to make sure that their T's are crossed, their I's are dotted going into this game in all areas of the field.
It's Thursday. It's perfect. It's beautiful. We've got a football weekend here in South Philadelphia. It's going to be electric on Monday night at Lincoln Financial Field. An 8:30 kickoff as part of the NFL's second primetime game on Monday night. At halftime, Eagles Hall of Famer, the former head coach Dick Vermeil, receives his Pro Football Hall of Fame ring. So he will be certainly honored and will get a standing ovation from the sold-out crowd at Lincoln Financial Field as the Eagles make their home debut, the opener, on Monday Night Football. I was looking this up, Fran. I can't find the last time the Eagles have opened a season at home on Monday night.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sure.
I looked. Maybe I missed it back in the 70s, but certainly it sets up for a really critical stretch of games for the Eagles, because then after that, as we know, on the road at Washington Week 1 winners.
Yep.
And they have a certain quarterback that Eagles fans might be familiar with. So you want to get your wins early in the season here, then you want to make your corrections. The Eagles know they have a bunch of corrections to make. The offense dynamic through 3 quarters on Sunday. Obviously, they need to be great for 4 quarters. I think that's why Jalen Hurts, who had 333 yards of offense, wasn't overly pleased with his performance, because in the 4th quarter, the Eagles had a couple of possessions. They didn't do much with it. And then at the end, that 4-minute offense running out the clock.
Yeah, I think when you look at he said it perfectly in his post-game speech, which you can go and find on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and all of your Eagles social media channels, was they know the standard and you have to meet that standard. And so I think when you look at this team and their expectations of themselves, they know they didn't reach that. They know they've got things to clean up on both sides of the football. And so that's what makes a win like this one a little bit better in that, you'd rather have a sloppy win than say like, oh man, like not only did we not play to our best, but we also lost the game and we're already behind the 8 ball. This is a team now that's got to win. You mentioned it. The first half of the season is all about stacking as many wins as possible for a team that is trying to go into the postseason and make a run. You don't want to be in December and say, oh man, what if we had stolen that one back in week 1, or what if we didn't let that game up early in the season. Now you come in, you try and stack as many wins as possible in that first half.
Every week, once a week, we bring you live coverage. We open up the curtain. We give you a peek inside the NovaCare complex as the Eagles working now on ball security as they get ready for their next opponent. Our coverage of this 2022 Eagles team presented by DraftKings. I'm Dave Spadaro. He's Fran Duffy. The Eagles getting ready for Monday Night Football and the Minnesota Vikings. Fran, let's talk a little bit about that Vikings offense, and let's start at the quarterback position. Big game for Kirk Cousins. He's had some big ones against the Eagles in the past. Struggled at times in prime time, but last few seasons, 30-plus touchdown passes, 4,000-plus yards. I mean, numbers-wise, Fran, he's an elite quarterback.
He goes out and he executes the offense that is put in front of him. And this is an offense that he is familiar with. Kevin O'Connell was his quarterback's coach in Washington back in 2017 when he played under Kyle Shanahan. That was some of Kirk Cousins' most productive seasons when he played in the NFC East. So I think when you look at Kirk Cousins, he fits this offense well. He knows what the terminology is. He knows what the expectations are. And if week 1 is any sign of it, they're going to be a productive team this year on that side of the football. He's not going to be the flashy, big arm, watch him escape from pressure and make huge plays. That's not the way Kirk Cousins plays. But if you look at the way that he can be a point-and-shoot quarterback, execute the offense, he does a really nice job navigating the pocket with bodies around him. He can make throws. He did that time and time again this past Sunday against a Green Bay defense that a lot of people are really high on, and they've got talent at all 3 levels. And so that was no easy task. He went through and was really, really strong this past week against the Packers.
And of course, his primary weapon in the pass game, Justin Jefferson, in 34 career games. He has, and this is 32 starts, 205 receptions, 3,200 yards, and 19 touchdowns. And that includes Sunday's 9-catch, 184 yards, and 2 touchdown performance against the Green Bay Packers. Adam Thielen, he's been in the league forever. Incredibly crafty, great route runner, very productive, tough guy, Fran. Really tough matchup. And Thielen, and they kind of complement each other very, very well. Now, a lot didn't go his way last week. 3 catches, 36 yards. But you look at Thielen's numbers. I mean, 2019, 113 catches, 1,373 yards, 9 touchdowns. 2020, 14 touchdowns on 74 catches. 2021, 10 touchdown catches on 67 receptions. It's not just Justin Jefferson.
No, Thielen is one of the most underrated players in football. He is one of the most technically proficient receivers in the NFL. When you look at his ability to get off the line of scrimmage, he can line up inside and outside. He's big and strong and physical. He's got outstanding hands. He can win after the catch as well. So I think when you look at Jefferson and Thielen, this is a really tough test for this Eagles secondary, and it's not just, we got to stop Jefferson, and we'll see what Thielen does. No, Thielen can play. He is one of the most underrated players, regardless of position in the entire league.
It's very similar, actually, to what the Eagles have.
Yeah.
With Devontae, with AJ, with a great tight end, with Dallas Goedert there working with former Eagle Brent Selleck. I mean, as much as we talk about how are the Eagles going to deal with Minnesota's weapons, in Minnesota, they have to say the same thing because the Eagles' weapons are many, and Jalen Hurts goes to all of them.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that when you have all of these different ways to be able to attack opposing defenses, it's like a carpenter going into a job and only having a hammer in his bag versus one that goes and now he's got a hammer, a screwdriver, a wrench. He's got the answers to whatever problem you're going to put in front of him. So I think when you look at this offense, you look at Jalen Hurts and all the different weapons at his disposal, including the run game, in which he is a big part of, that's what makes this offense so exciting in my mind.
And Fran, the Eagles offense, let's talk a little bit about the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles and how you see that matchup against a front seven in Minnesota. You know, they're better than they've been. You know, they've got the big man inside in Tomlinson. They add the linebacker Smith. They add Jordan Hicks. They've got Eric Kendricks. It seems to me that their concept is our big, strong 3-4 front. We're gonna try to just engulf offensive lines and let our linebackers run free.
You know, it's funny because over the past, a decade, how long was Mike Zimmer there in Minnesota? Whenever you were getting ready to play the Vikings, all the talk was about the double A gap blitz, the double A gap blitz, the double A gap blitz. Well, watching this team go up against the Green Bay Packers, it wasn't the double A gap blitz, but they did a lot of different pressure looks that really put a lot of stress on Green Bay's offensive line to the tune of 4 sacks. Aaron Rodgers threw a pick under duress as well. And they only officially, quote unquote, blitzed, I think it was like 3 times or 4 times over the course of the game. But what they do, Dave, it's one of the buzzwords in football right now, sim pressure, where you're going to put 4 or 5, 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage. Some of them are going to be standing up. They're going to be lined up in weird situations, weird spots. You're going to see Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks up on the line of scrimmage as if they're rushing the passer. Sometimes they're going to come, sometimes they're not. And a lot of those times, they'll have 6 guys up on the line, but drop 2 out. So it's still only a 4-man rush, and that's why those things don't always get counted as a blitz. But they put so much stress on a quarterback and on a protection scheme before the snap of the football that now you're getting free rushers home. They did it with Zadarius Smith. They did it with Donnell Hunter. They're standing those guys up and putting them over the center. They're putting them over guards. And now you're trying to figure all of that out pre-snap. It's going to be a huge mental game for Jason Kelce and Jalen Hurts on the inside, setting those protections, making sure everybody is buttoned up before the snap of the football.
Fran, can the Eagles throw the ball with this outstanding group of receivers against the Vikings? It seems to me, look, the opening play of the game for the Packers, Aaron Rodgers looks downfield, receiver open, perfect pass, drop ball, that there might be some opportunities to hit against Minnesota's outside coverage.
So the 2 starting corners are Cam Dantzler, going into his second year, former day 2 pick coming out of Mississippi State. The other one is a former All-Pro and one of the best corners in football, Patrick Peterson. Now, Peterson's a little bit older. He's not quite what he was back in the day when he was with Arizona, but when you look at the way that this team plays, they played less press coverage than anybody in football last week. They played it was like 19% of their snaps they played in press coverage. Everything else, they're playing like 7-8 yards off the ball, Dave. So when you look at corners that are going to play with that much depth, well, now you've got the ability to come off the ball fast and hit the second level with a head of steam. And so that's what you saw in that opening play. The rookie second-round pick, Christian Watson, he was matched up against Patrick Peterson, dusted him, ran right by him, and he was wide open. Like you said, Aaron Rodgers couldn't have handed it to him better. 50 yards downfield, and it just went right through the rookie's hands. And that was kind of like the tale of the day by the time the fourth quarter came to a close. So I think when you look at the matchups here on the outside for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they're going to be there if Minnesota decides they want to play the same way. Now, I will be fascinated to see if Minnesota is going to play the same way. Are they going to handle Aaron Rodgers and a lesser receiver core the same way that they're going to handle Jalen Hurts and this outstanding group of pass catchers? I'll be fascinated to see exactly early on how are they going to play. Are they going to be a little bit more physical? Are they going to be a little bit less inclined to put guys up on the line of scrimmage and focus more on making sure Jalen Hurts doesn't beat them with his legs? It's going to be fascinating to see early on in this game.
I love watching this drill, by the way. You see how incredibly athletic wide receivers are, how quick their feet are, how low to the ground they play, how much balance they have, how much leverage they use. Just the change of direction. So perfect. And then you come out of your break and the ball's right on your hands.
That's it.
And you got to make the catch. It's fantastic. So much X's and O's. And we have some X's and O's that you might really enjoy on game day. In fact, we know you will. Make sure you tune in to the Eagles game plan. It airs on Sunday at 10. That's 10 in the morning on NBC 10 in Philadelphia, as well as our website, our official team app, and our social media channels on Friday. And then we want you to tune in early on Monday night. Our kickoff show presented by Little Caesars begins at 7:40 p.m. Again, on the website, the official team app, and our social media channels. Fran, we're going to have you in the studio, you and Ella in the studio. I'm over at Lincoln Financial Field absorbing this opening night magical atmosphere. It's going to be great. So make sure, Eagles fans, wherever you are, and we know that you are literally everywhere, that you join us on Monday night early and stay with us through the game. And then after the game, join us for the post-game show presented by Rico, where we give you the instant reaction, the immediate reaction from the Eagles locker room and from head coach Nick Sirianni.
I will say, Dave, we had a blast on the post-game show this past week against the Detroit Lions. Myself, Gabriella DiGiovanni, Ike Reese. We had the post-game press conferences, like you said. So Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, Brandon Graham spoke, Darius Slay spoke, A.J. Brown spoke. So you get to hear from all of your favorite Eagles and also get some analysis, some instant takes there from myself and Ike and from Ella. So a lot of fun. We had a blast. It was about an hour long. So join us after the game for the post-game show.
Yeah, and I think that this game, you and I talked about it before we went on the air. As far as an early season, look, every week's a litmus test, right? But this is a tremendous matchup against a Vikings team that has been on the cusp of being really good the last couple of years, just not able to get over the hump for one reason or another. It seems like right now this Minnesota team is as complete as it's been in many, many years.
We haven't even said Dalvin Cook's name yet.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you look at the way that he's able to impact the game, one of the most explosive ball carriers in football, that run game looks a little bit different than what we've seen in years past. They've been primarily more of a zone run scheme over the years, but a lot more downhill, smash mouth football this past week against the Green Bay Packers. So we'll see if that's the case here on Monday night.
Interesting group right here, Fran, the Eagles defensive tackle group, because we're seeing some young players really instantly emerge and challenge for playing time. Jordan Davis, of course, the first pick for the Eagles in the 2022 draft. Marlon Tuipulotu, a 6th-round pick last year, who, I got to tell you, has maybe the most massive thighs that I've seen. I interviewed him in the locker room today because I felt that he really stepped up and played so well on Sunday. He and Jordan are certainly, and Milton Williams, pushing Fletcher, pushing Javon Hargrave, and giving the Eagles an unprecedented 5-man deep rotation at defensive tackle. And it also gives you the flexibility, potentially, of moving Milton or Fletcher to the edge. And the Eagles certainly need to replace Derek Barnett and his reps. Barnett, of course, placed on injured reserve this week after suffering the torn ACL. Fran, your read on the DTs.
There's no group in the NFL that's deeper than that group of 5. There's no question about it. When you look at the guys that are in the starting lineup and they're in their base package versus who you see the second team and all the different defensive line groupings that you see, it's just a unique group there, and all 5 of them in the frame here. I think when you look at
those legs.
Yeah.
Look at those legs. They're tree trunks.
I think and all of these guys have they've looked really good this summer. And it's just a really well-coached group. Tracy Rocker, you can see him there in the frame next to Javon. This is a really well-coached group. They can play the run. They can play the pass. I'm fascinated to watch them continue to develop and evolve over the course of the season.
Tuipulotu didn't play last year. A long season for him. Teron Jackson, another player. You step up. Young players are going to need to step up and replace Barnett. Kyron Johnson, another player. The Eagles are going to rely on him to develop quickly. Fran, it stinks to lose Derek Barnett. Everybody loves him. He plays so hard. How do the Eagles replace those reps and that production?
Well, it's going to be a little bit different with every single package. It's the same thing we talked about last year when the Eagles lost Brandon Graham. It's okay, what does this mean? Well, you saw more Josh Sweat inside. You started to see more reps from Ryan Kerrigan. Now it's going to be a little bit different because Derek Barnett does different things than Brandon Graham did, right? So you might see a little bit more Patrick Johnson, Kyron Johnson. You might see a little bit more Teron Jackson. You might see, like you mentioned, more Milton Williams and Fletcher Cox getting reps out on the edge. And so I think they're going to try and divvy a lot of these pass rush snaps up. Those guys that are going to play off the perimeter outside the tackle, but it'll be a group effort trying to replace the snaps there from Derek Barnett.
And the Eagles did officially place Barnett on the injured reserve list yesterday. And they signed Janaris Robinson
yes.
from the Vikings practice squad. a similar story, it actually sounds like, to what Josh Sweat has gone through.
Yeah.
Highly recruited, one of the best defensive linemen in the scholastic ranks, goes to Florida State. Up and down production there. Mid-round draft pick by the Vikings last season. I spoke to him. He said he's going to play hard. He's going to learn the defense. He's excited to be here with Sweaty. It helps him kind of integrate into Philadelphia. And the Eagles are going to hope that he can, fit into the system and play well.
The last guy that the Eagles got off the Vikings waiver wire scrap heap has turned out pretty well, Marcus Epps. So we'll see if they're able to strike gold once again there. But when you look at Robinson, he is a big body defensive end. He offers some flexibility to play both inside and outside. But excited to see him develop here in Philly.
Okay, listen, we want to thank you all for joining us here. And we also invite you to watch Unbeatable Connections presented by Xfinity with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. It's live now. Great personalities, great fun.
Awesome.
Just something to get you through to Monday night. Make sure you're with us on Monday night starting at 7:40 when we bring you the kickoff show presented by Little Caesars. For Fran Duffy, I'm Dave Spadaro. Thanks for joining us. Our continuing coverage of the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles presented by DraftKings. Have a great Eagles day, everyone. Fly, Eagles, fly, and go Birds!